Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Joe Truemark and I am the Halo Enthusiast. If you've only just joined me, I recommend going back to the welcome video and watching that, as it will give you a breakdown of what I will be covering and where you are on my schedule. But if not, let's press on to the good stuff. Okay, so now in this video we're going to be talking about how you can use your skills to predict movement and getting you used to shooting in a way that will maximise your effectiveness to hit moving targets. When you play Halo, you may just try to shoot targets as they appear to you. Although this is a completely legitimate way to play, I want to give you a small bit of opinionated knowledge that may help you to get an edge over your opponents. So when you know that you have solid aim, but some days you feel like you're having trouble hitting players when they are moving, you can feel like something is missing. You feel like you need something else to get your shots on target. Part of this will be firing technique, which I will cover in Chapter 2 videos, but in terms of aiming, this next concept is hard to do in practice, but once you get it down, you will find that your aim will greatly improve. First, you need to know the difference between HITSCAN and projectile weapons. So projectile weapons, some weapons are projectile based, which means that the bullet or ballistic takes time for it to reach its target. Plasma bolts are an obvious example of this, but rockets, plasma casters and fuel rods, etc. are other examples. In order to compensate for the lead time of the projectile, you must aim the crosshairs in front of the direction in which the target is moving to secure solid hits. This can be difficult to judge, and so because different weapons have varying projectile speeds, you will need to learn and practice with them all to gain an understanding of how far you need to aim to get your shots on target. And then HITSCAN weapons. So for those of you that don't know, HITSCAN is the method in which the console calculates how your shot hits its mark. It will create damage based upon a calculation of what you are looking at when you pull the trigger of your weapon, and the shot is theoretically instantaneous. So how does this concept affect HITSCAN weapons? Well, although technically the shot of a HITSCAN weapon will be instantaneous, you will still need to aim ever so slightly ahead of a moving target to hit, as it takes a small amount of time for you to pull the trigger on your controller, as well as an input lag and network lag. By the time you have taken the shot, the target should align with your actual path, securing a hit. Another reason is that when I try to track moving targets, the cursor always seems to be lagging behind the perfect shot. If you try to aim in front of a moving target instead, you will eventually catch up with them and get the shots you need. So basically what I am suggesting is something that I like to practice with that should help you to get shots on target with HITSCAN weapons. I like to think of it as martial arts for Halo. So now to cover the practice methods. Number 1. Aiming while stationary. If you are stationary, i.e. not moving, and try to hit a moving target, all you will need to do is to keep your crosshairs ever so slightly ahead of your target in one fluid motion. Easier said than done, but it is well worth practicing. The main point to grasp here is to decide in which direction the target is moving and aim accordingly. Number 2. Moving sideways to align shots. Moving sideways is a legitimate way to make your aim better, rather than moving the look stick. Most people do this and rely on it solely to aim. I am a believer that you need to practice how to shoot being stationary, as it gives you better aim in general, but you really need to learn how to do both. You can line up shots easier by moving sideways to get on target. However, it can also make getting shots on a target that is moving difficult, as it alters the speed your cursor covers when you aim. Once you secure your target, you will then have to work hard on the look thumbstick to keep on target. To rectify this problem, you will need to decide which direction the target is moving, and again lead your shot slightly ahead of your target to get perfect hits in. You need to be aware that hitting targets while stationary and hitting targets while you yourself are moving sideways are two separate skills, even though the method is similar. You will need to practice both, and again, depending on which weapon you have will affect how far you need to lead your shots. Also be aware of distance. How far away the target is from you will also affect how far you will need to lead your shots, or indeed what area you should be aiming for. I will go into detail for each weapon in Chapter 2. Okay, so number 3. Getting used to aiming this way subconsciously and predicting movement without even thinking about it. So this is where subjectivity kicks in. If you take anything away from this video, it is the next bit. This is to help you in a gunfight showdown, but does not have to be practiced with a friend. That can come later. So say you are aiming at a stationary target. It's not moving. Great, aim for the middle. But when you start moving on a stationary target, do you still aim for the middle? If it is a HITSCAN, well, yeah, right? Well, in my opinion, I would say no. No? Why know if it is HITSCAN? Well, this is for two reasons. Reason 1. When aiming at a target strafing, depending on which direction you are moving, it is likely that the hostile target will move in the opposite direction to evade you. This is an effort to draw out the largest distance a player's reticle will have to cover to get shots. If both players were strafing in the same direction, however, the movement effect would be nullified, essentially meaning you both might as well be stationary. Because of this natural psychology of movement, as a player practicing this method, you can use this to your advantage. So when aiming at a stationary target and strafing, aim at the target's far opposite side, leading your cursor slightly. You will still secure solid hits, but if your target starts moving, your cursor will already be where it needs to be to minimize time to get solid shots in. Reason 2. When you track a target, it will take a small lag time between when you want to pull the trigger and achieving an actual registered trigger pull. If you do this right, they will literally walk into your shots, but will also, when you are moving sideways, the lag of this will be more evident and will require you to lead your shots slightly more. So, okay, look at it this way. Say you just strafe against something simple, like say the wall and trigger pull. The place that actually gets shot is not the place that you may want to get your shot on. There is a lag on your own input. It hits slightly behind, so this is not so much necessarily a fault with the gun as it is with your perception of where you want to get the shots to hit. By attempting to aim forward all the time of targets, even if it is very, very slight, it gets you in the habit of syncing up your brain to the reality of how much pressure you need to apply to the thumbsticks to lead shots properly. So the golden rule to remember is aim for the opposite side of whichever object you are aiming at, depending on which direction you are strafing in. So strafing left, aim for the far right of the object. Strafing right, aim for the far left of the object. These rules can be broken if the object is moving in the same direction you are. Then you will just have to aim as far ahead of them as you need to. An easy way to remember this is just remember the general movement of the thumbsticks, and this should help you to get used to the advanced strafing techniques I will cover in later videos. By practicing this mindset on stationary targets and getting it to be second nature, it will make you aim this way in a real game as standard, and you won't even have to think when you're pulling off those perfect shots. It will take time to get there, as you will need to drill it down into your muscle memory, so it may be useful to practice this on your own in the gun range I have provided earlier. Another way to practice this will be with octagon ranges with friends, but I have a moving target range in the works which hopefully will be available soon. Okay, so number 4. In addition, a way of improving your accuracy is knowing how to focus your eyes. When I've suggested this to people, they have actually given me positive feedback that this really does work. Most people, when they start shooting, begin by looking at the target that they want to shoot at. This may sound completely obvious, but this may not be the best way to secure solid hits, as you trick yourself into getting shots on a target, or you may be finding it difficult to follow a target with your reticle. The way to practice aiming best is to look at the space inside the reticle, focus on that and use your peripheral vision to align the target. You will find that it makes aiming incredibly easier. It can take a bit of practice, but again, it's worth it. It may be worth trying to use the daily aiming practice sessions to get this down, as I designed it originally with this method in mind. The idea is to try and incorporate this skill in your game as often as you can, and at the correct moments, because you'll have to be looking around your screen most of the time just to generally move about. But those times that you need to, you can just focus on getting that perfect aim to get in those solid shots. Okay, so now on to using SmartLink to help track moving targets. So when I was watching my girlfriend play Halo, I noticed that she was looking down SmartLink on most weapons, even at extreme close ranges. Most of the time she plays Destiny, and I know myself that you pretty much most of the time aim down the sights to get any kind of accuracy. But it is the same with the COD games and Battlefield, etc. She was finding it hard to aim because she was trying to SmartLink in situations that she probably shouldn't have been. As I am a long time player of Halo, I understand that firing from the hip is a very important part of Halo gameplay, You may instinctively want to use SmartLink on everything at every range, but it is very important to know when to use the SmartLink function and when not to. The logic behind this is that the red reticle range of a weapon will give aim assist at certain ranges. As soon as the reticle goes red, this is usually the perfect distance to shoot the weapon. You can get a longer red reticle range if you engage SmartLink on the weapon to outgun foes, or to push the gun to the boundaries of its limits at long range. However, if you SmartLink on the weapon at close range, of course you will get greater accuracy bonus, but it will make tracking a target at close range much more difficult, as the sensitivity is much lower than in hipfire mode, resulting in you being outmaneuvered much more easily. If you're using SmartLink and get shot, you will descope, and this can mess up your aim in a gunfight. So the key things to remember: don't SmartLink at extreme close ranges on any weapons, even close quarter weapons except for maybe the shotgun or the sword. SmartLink should be used to increase your red reticle range outside of its normal hip firing mode, useful for suppressors and bolt shots to get their homing abilities, for sniping, or to reduce the bloom effect on automatics. Try to remember that you will descope if you get shot. The hip fire view sensitivity will affect your aim. It moves faster than in SmartLink, so if you get shot it can really mess you up. Similarly, if you are closing in on a target and you SmartLink for the kill, your aim will perform slower, and so you may miss shots if you are unfamiliar with the instant change in sensitivity. If you are SmartLinking in a gunfight and get shot, it may be best to stay descoped and fight for the kill, or get a few shots off first and then scope in for better accuracy as mentioned before. But either way, you will need to consciously control how you do both. I have another practice method for you to get used to SmartLinking and de-SmartLinking. This is simply doing the daily practice sessions as mentioned before, but zooming in quickly on the target and de-scoping to move on to the next and repeat. This hopefully again will give you the more control that you need. So to practice these methods, again, it can be with octagon ranges with friends, but I have a moving target range in the works which hopefully will be available, as I have mentioned earlier, soon. I wouldn't suggest that the campaign is best for practicing these methods, as enemies' movements is not the same as multiplayer Spartans, but it could also be worth trying, as it gives you the space to breathe and not get shot at all the time. I do actually recommend the use of heroic firefight as a practice method, due to the sheer quantity of enemies and ammo availability, but I would always say fighting real Spartans is the best way to hone these techniques. So next up, when it is finished, will be my moving target range, but if that's enough for you right now, just remember, take it easy, be good to each other, and play Halo. This is the Halo Enthusiast, signing off, and wishing you well in all things Halo.